from the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, episode 14. We are proudly powered by our partners at College Promoters USA. They are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. Located locally here in the San Antonio area, you can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center, but you can also find them on social, on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. You can also get more information on what they're about and the many cool things they're doing on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. My next guests, they are joining us. They are the reigning kings of 6A boys soccer here in the state of Texas. They are the Katy Seven Lake Spartans. I am with their coach, Coach Jimmy Kruger, as well as state MVP Hunter Merritt. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great, buddy. Thank you for being here. Coach?
No complaints, obviously. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And I saved the best for last, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas high school soccer. Coach Rafa, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. Just enjoying during the week, enjoying Fiesta here in San Antonio, and barn burner of a game last night that we talked about on the Fancast, which you were sending your comments on. I did get your little championship banners, so I have that.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Great stuff. Yeah, kind of a bummer that it ended in a 1-1 draw, but we'll figure out Phoenix Rising one of these days for sure. So awesome. But that's another show for sure. So, but we're here to talk about the 6A boys state champions today, Katy Seven Lakes. Coach Kruger, tell us what's it been like? You know, you guys won a little bit. A little over a week ago. What's it been like? What's the last week been like?
Nothing's really slowed down. It's always been one item after the other that you have to kind of go through once you win one of these things. You know, there's purchasing of rings, there's receiving recognition from the board, there's planning our banquet that's this Friday, which is such a tight turnaround from the last game of the season, but we knew that going in. So, you know, there's still plenty to do, but as I said, I'll take being busy at this time every single year if I'm allowed to. Yeah,
and I know Rafael told me to remind you that I think we're both size 9s on the ring finger. So just throwing that out there, Coach.
I feel like Rafa was a favor of Dripping Springs a little bit, so maybe he'll get one for the pinky.
No, I had you guys number one for most of the way, so I kind of say these guys had to finish the job.
I have the RPI chart proof, Coach. I can show you. I can promise you that. So. And Hunter, what's life been like for you? You know, state MVP, you come back, you're the proverbial big man on campus. What's it been like, man?
Pretty much, it's been crazy. The recognition I've gotten it's been nuts. I mean, my parents are so proud of me. My family from Louisiana even watched the game. My aunts, uncles, my grandparents, everyone, and then going back to school, it's just like. Everyone's like, wow, I can't believe y'all did that. But also it was like as expected. I mean, we should have been there and people knew that we were really good. So, yeah, glad to be back.
He should tell about the local celebrity status you received at the restaurant he was just at.
So I went to a restaurant last night or 2 nights ago and the waiter came up to me and he was like, Hunter Merritt, the state MVP. I said, yes, sir. And he was like, well, my wife works in the district. So can I get a picture with you to show her? She'll never believe I met you.
Awesome. That is awesome. So I'm assuming you took the picture, right? You did
yes,
the cool, right?
You
didn't Hollywood them or nothing like that?
No, nothing. Awesome. I haven't been like that at all.
Now you're a humble guy, right? So how do you handle that in terms of your individual accolade as a state MVP, which is a tremendous honor. Congratulations. But then you're also kind of trying to make sure it's like, hey guys, yeah, it wasn't just me, it's my teammates, right? How do you, from your perspective, right, help us understand as coaches, as parents, as spectators, how do you handle that?
So, I mean, I said in the post-game interviews that, I mean, all year, I mean, Coach Kruger can say this as well. I'm not a person about individual stuff. I mean, if I have a 2-on-1 with the goalie, I'm passing it 100 times out of 100 for the tap in, but that's just how I am. So in the post-game interviews, I said, I mean, the state MVP is nice, I'll take it, but the state championship is all that matters for my team and everyone. And without my teammates, I wouldn't have done any of this. So
Awesome. Yeah, that's well said. And I'm sure, you're not, it'll be our little secret if you want to, if you want me to go ahead and lean on Coach Kruger and tell him it's like, hey, Hunter should be getting an additional, state MVP ring in addition to that state. I can lean on him later. Just let me know.
None of that stuff.
So, Coach, we look back on the 2023 season. I know it was a long one for you, right? It was a great one, but obviously a long one. When you reflect back on the entire 2023 season as a whole, what are some of the very first things that come to mind, just in terms of the emotions, the memories? What's it like?
Well, I would say the most evident thing was we set the bar extremely high at the beginning of the year. We talked about winning a state title on day one, not just getting there, not competing for there, but actually going out and being the last team that's holding the trophy over their head with pride at the end of the Saturday, that long Saturday. So these guys knew what that expectation was each and every training day, each and every week, and they rose to the occasion and they pushed each other and they held each other accountable throughout the whole process. And we said that this is something that's been kind of building over the course of years. Each graduating senior class has done a tremendous job leaving the badge in a better place. And it's been up to the next group to pick up where they left off. So as we kind of reflect on this year, it was basically goal achieved. And, to watch these guys excel in all those moments is what makes this job truly special. I always say, I keep the photos from year to year of the kids celebrating. I don't keep photos of myself. I don't keep photos of anything other than just seeing the joy on their faces. So to be able to kind of sit back on the sideline and watch these guys experience something that I never got to experience as a player because I failed. We made it to the regional tournament 2 of the 4 years when I was a player, lost in the regional finals my senior year. But to see them actually set that standard and excel, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and you hit on something there. You talk about how so much of 2023 goes back to where you guys were playing on that the second to last day last year of the season. So it goes back to 2022, and you've clearly been on a mission, right? So did you kind of feel like the first day of this season started back last year when you all were in Georgetown, because you were clearly on a mission, I think, and I'll let Rafa talk to that a little bit more because it reflected in his RPIs, and I had you tabbed as the top 6A program, boys program, pretty much the entire year, even though you guys weren't really, you could argue, the hunted, right? Because you still had Lake Travis out there, the defending state champion. What has that been like when you look back at the mission over the course of this year, dating back to the end of how last year ended to now?
So it was 100% built off of last year. As I've said in a couple of conversations, the day that we got back from state tournament last year, I was ready to get back to work. I was ready to pick up where we left off. And it was just because of the understanding of what we had coming back and my responsibility as a coach to make sure that I wasn't taking for granted the situation at hand with the level of talent that we had coming back. So I think it would have been a huge disservice if I would have just sat back and relied on the talent versus try to push the talent to get to a place they haven't been. So yeah, this entire thing was a mission. And day one of this school year, I told the kids, I said, we're going to win state. We're talking about winning state. Have y'all ever heard me say that saying or that phrase or that statement ever? And then they originally said, yeah, we talked about it last year. Let's think about that. Did I talk about winning state last year? No, we talked about getting there. Well, we've been there. What's the next step? And that's to win the whole thing.
Yeah. Rafa, you got anything?
Yeah, I don't know. Last year, that loss against Plano, how did that motivate the team, or did they feel like we kind of left we left an opportunity there to maybe win it the year before? How do you guys turn that thing around to going into this season and say, hey, from that to really focus on that drive to get to the title game and win it.
So the big thing that we got from last year was experience. Coaching staff got experience in what the environment's like. The players got experience in what the environment was like. In that game against Plano, we played extremely well, all but 15 minutes in my mind. And that 15 minutes was the deciding factor. And the players knew what to expect going in, and the level of communication, or the ability to communicate, and the difficulty in that venue. And, we were able, and the players were able to manage the ebbs and flows of the game a little bit better, and they didn't get rattled. I think last year against Plano, we got a bit rattled when they found the equalizing goal and then went ahead 2-1. And you can see in the eyes of the players that they were a little bit shooken. And this year, there was a situation where Dripping Springs pulled it to 2-1 off of a fantastic free kick. And our guys, they didn't bat an eye. They closed out the game. They knew exactly what to do. So experience is the most important thing in this world. And we were able to get that necessary experience last year, and we were able to, come in with the level head this year.
My coach.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Hunter, I'm curious from your perspective, was there a point where, whether it be somewhere late in the season, the regular season, district play, somewhere early in the playoffs, where you just kind of got the sign where it's like, hey, this feels different from last year. Like, this feels like, hey, we have everything. We have the talent, we have the coaching, we have everything, where this feels like it could be our year. It's not going to be like last year. Was there a specific definitive moment where that hit you, or not really?
I think that there was. At the end of district, how going 15-0-1 and how competitive of a district it was. I knew then, but the defying moment was definitely against Cinco Ranch, losing 2-0 with 90 seconds left in the game, and we come back to tie it up, and then we end up winning in penalty kicks. After that game, our team talked about it, and we were like, we can't let this, we kind of got like a second life from that game, and we were like, we can't let this go. And then, I'd say we overlooked Cinco a little bit, like as players, not as much like as a team. But I overlooked them a little bit. And after that game, we were like, we can't do this anymore. And we knew our next opponent was good, but they weren't as good as the team that we were going to play in the final. But we didn't overlook them, and we took them out quick. We beat them 3-0, rested our starters for the last 20 minutes, and then went on to the regional final, won the whole thing. And from there on, it was just an opportunity to go win the whole thing.
Coach, we often talk about, Rafa and I talk about it pretty regularly, that in addition to the quality, the quality coaching, the talent, right? And so many things, kind of sometimes how the bracket plays out, so many things have to go your way in the process. And maybe sometimes just a little bit of that lady luck, right? Did you have a moment in the tournament run where you're just kind of like, maybe you kept it to yourself probably, but where it's like, that doesn't break our way a year ago versus now? Did you have a moment like that?
Yeah, it was the Cinco Ranch game, without a doubt. That was the only game that we played where I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with what I was seeing on the field. The first two rounds, we controlled everything. We controlled the tempo. They both were very disciplined defensively, and they tried to just manage the game and keep the scoreline tight and maybe even get us into overtime or pens. But Cinco Ranch came out, and they played with us, and at times better than us. I just wasn't happy with the product I was seeing on the field. And, when the second goal goes in against us, I just was like, in that state of denial that this is what the season's going to be, and it's unbelievable. And then, we ended up pulling to 2-1 with about 90 seconds left. And I'm just like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. We had a free kick. I look at my assistant coaches. Could you imagine? Because this would be kind of that multiplier effect that a team needs to push them, because it's an extremely long season. The guys get tired about me. They get tired of being around me over a period of time, and something like that, as Hunter said, it's a second life. And that's what we talked about at the end of the game, is we can't let this opportunity slip, because very easily could have been the end of the season. Cinco Ranch was extremely deserving in that game. They played their best game I've seen a Cinco Ranch side play in years. And, we were very fortunate to get out of that game,
Wow.
With the victory. So that was it. That was kind of the reset, refocus, and let's get back to business.
Awesome. So, Hunter, help us understand going into that, that state final championship match versus Dripping Springs. You all, for all intent and purposes, were expected to be there by many, right? The expectations were high. Dripping Springs was a totally, kudos to them. They were a totally different story, right? So help us from your perspective, but from your team's perspective, what was the pulse of the team like going into that, getting ready for that match? Maybe the night before, the morning of, and then kind of during pregame and right before kickoff. What was that like?
So, I mean, we knew Dripping Springs, like the story behind it, but we kind of put that past us because if you're in the state final, I mean, obviously you got to be a good team. So we knew that going into it, but kind of the night before, I mean, it was really just all fun. Like our team we were doing like an ice bath in the pool at night, and we were just dancing and singing in the pool. I mean, no nerves. We kind of just tried to put that to the side. And then right before the game, we went to a high school just to kind of chill for 4 hours before the game, actually. And we're getting closer to game time with like an hour before we left. So we started stretching. And as captains, we were in the middle, we're just trying to just calm the group down. And we started playing duck, duck, goose. And we started just throwing a ball around and just trying to keep the guys calm almost.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then in the locker room before the game, we brought Aiden, another captain. He brought everyone together and kind of just said a little speech, kind of his part to our team. And I mean, that hit all of us, and we were ready to run through a wall for the team before the game. And we got out there, and I was so excited. The atmosphere was crazy in the stadium, so it was awesome.
That's awesome. And those are the cool stories too, right? I mean, obviously, great, inspirational speech, no doubt, by your teammate, but I'm sure you're good 20 years from now when you guys are meeting up again to tell the stories, right? You're going to be talking about duck, duck, goose at a random school and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, Rafa?
Just for Hunter, from what you learned from last year to this year, how did you and your teammates approach this game? Right from what would you hope to accomplish within like the first 10 minutes of the final there, like as far as setting the tone and so forth?
Yeah. So last year, I mean, against Plano, we knew that, I mean, they were a very good team, and we went up early in that game with a penalty kick, and kind of at halftime, we were more relaxed than we should have been. And we thought that we were like, wow, like this is our first time here and we're going to make the state final. Like we were talking about that in the locker room at halftime. And this time we went into the locker room. I mean, it was 0-0, but we were dominating the whole match. And we knew it was going to come, but we knew whenever we did score, I mean, we huddled up after we scored and we were like, we're not letting this happen again. Like we need to get another one quick so we can put this game away. And then we got another one, obviously. And then like Coach Kruger said, they scored on us. And it wasn't more of like everyone freaked out. It was more like we huddled up again as captains. We brought them together and we were like, I mean, we're still winning 2-1. That goal was irrelevant to the score. Now we just got to close the game out, and we closed the game out. But I think the experience from last year helping us to this year was everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a perfect segue into, because this question's for Coach Kruger, that what's going through your mind, right? You guys, state final versus Dripping Springs. This guy, Hunter Merritt, comes out of nowhere, scores 2 quick ones, right? You're up and you're like, oh, this could be it, right? Here we go. And then, as he just mentioned, Dripping Springs scores one on a great set piece. And then inside of those last 15, 20 minutes or so, those must have been the longest ones of your coaching career, right? Take us through that from the coach's perspective.
So back to Hunter's goals, we always have a saying when there's a goal that's pure effort and scrappiness and having a nose be in the right spot at the right time. It's called a Hunter goal. So after he scored his first goal, he comes over and says, "Hunter goal, Coach." I said, I'll take it. I'll take it. So I feel like these players want to send me to an early grave, to be honest with you. Those late minutes of just hanging on. It's challenging to be on the sideline, just sitting there, and you're looking at the clock, and it feels like 3 minutes have gone by, but it's been 3 seconds. And Dripping Springs had a couple set pieces and corners at the end of it. It's just like, don't let this be it. We've done it to the team over the course of the postseason play. We don't want it done to us. But Benavides was big for us all season. He was getting into balls, he was punching balls out. So I was pretty confident in him. And then Hunter probably had more defensive headers in the state tournament than the rest of the team combined. In my mind, he was battling on both sides of the ball for us. So again, it was long, but I had full confidence that the guys were going to see the game out in the proper way and get the job done. And no panic was on the sideline one bit.
Awesome. So this question's kind of for both of you. You get in, whoever wants to go first, but what does that feel like just from the perspective of, the historical, all right, the historical piece of it is first school to bring it to Katy ISD, right, on the boys' side. And you all are the first, I believe, first Houston school to do it since 2018, period, right? Region 3. What is that, just the awesomeness, the honor of that? What is that? What is your take on that? How do you guys feel about that? Have you really had a chance to process that yet?
I'll let Hunter go first.
Okay. I mean, it's crazy to think that in the district that we play in, Katy ISD, I mean, there's been fantastic teams. And I mean, I'm pretty sure every team has been to state one time except 2 teams, or even multiple times. So I'm shocked that no one's won it, but for us to be the first, I mean, I'll take it. It's crazy. But I mean, sinking in, it didn't, for me at least, it didn't sink in for like a couple days, to be honest. I mean, I was looking at all the news articles and all of the interviews and all the highlights from the game, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy. But then there was one night I was laying in my bed and I was like, wow, like this is it. Like that was my last ever game, and I just went out as a senior in one state, and then obviously got the MVP. So, I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. But I'm sure the pinnacle was probably being asked for a picture and an autograph while you're at dinner, right? It had to be, right? That's awesome, Coach. Your thoughts?
So on the boys' side, speaking, Katy ISD has been represented 11 times in the state tournament over the course of the UIL event. So I'm a product of Katy ISD as well, graduating at Katy High School in 2002. And as I said earlier, I failed to get there and win it as a player. Although my senior year, we were having some noise about us. We were a really, really big side, and we got upset in my mind in the regional finals against Clear Lake 1-0. Can talk about that too. I still have that engraved in my memory.
Yeah, let's not go there today.
But so when I took this job back in 2007, I was an assistant coach for Coach Metcalf for 2 years, and then he stepped down and I took over. And this was like kind of an internal goal of mine to either directly or indirectly put the district into a position to actually get a state championship. So it means a lot to me personally that we were the ones that, started that standard and brought home to Katy ISD its first boys soccer state championship. The girls soccer team, or the girls soccer, has won as well, with Taylor High School winning it. I want to say in 2003, somewhere around that area.
Right. Yeah. We were talking about it. Yeah, it sounds right.
So as I said it on the sideline with all the interviews and stuff like that, this won't be the last Katy ISD team that wins the whole thing. The soccer in the area is absolutely growing, and it's such a competitive district year in, year out, that competition in itself is enough to drive us to the level of being a state contender, year in and year out. So it might not be Seven Lakes every year, but we'll be in the thick of it. And there's a number of other schools that are just as talented, and it's going to be fun to watch the growth of the sport over the years.
Absolutely. Rafa?
Yeah, you mentioned about the Houston, soccer getting better and better. Was this a big step for your area to represent, Houston, win a title knowing that, the Dallas area teams have been the dominant when winning a lot of the state titles. How do you feel about that? This as a stepping stone to closing that gap.
So I played college ball in the Dallas area in Wichita Falls at Midwestern State. A lot of my friends are Dallas area coaches, and the amount of grief I get about Houston versus Dallas is to the extreme level. So it's good to pull one back. My good friend Chad Rickstraw, who used to coach at Coppell, he's got 2 state titles with Coppell, and he's always one that says Dallas is superior. And over the course of time, sure, but we're more than happy to continue to push and one day, go stride for stride with those Dallas schools.
Awesome. Great stuff. So what I'm guessing is that you'll be strutting a little differently at the Tasco convention this November, right?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be a little busy, but I'll try my best.
So Hunter, again, we mentioned state MVP. Congrats on that huge accolade. And I know you shared that with your teammates as well, but now we understand where you're headed next, but tell us a little bit about that and just what else is next.
Thank you for the congratulations. And I have committed to St. Edward's University, as it says right here, and I will be playing soccer there next year. Very excited. And with the St. Edward's program closing, it closed down for COVID. So this is a completely new team. This is the first year it's going to be open next year, the soccer program. So it's going to be a bunch of transfers and a bunch of freshmen. So I mean, we don't know anything. I don't even know any of the players that are committed yet. He hasn't sent us out anything because I guess he's still recruiting right now for our class. Right. But I mean, I'm very excited to get there and to see what's ahead of me.
Now you made it official, right? You got the letter and everything completed?
Yes, sir. I did. Yeah. I had my signing day the week before we went to state. That was a crazy week with everything going on before.
I bet. Remind me, I got to put you in touch. So one of players at my school and on our boys program at the school where I'm at, St. Mary's Hall, he's actually committed. He'll be part of that incoming freshman class with you. Alex Akeju out of San Antonio, and he's a phenomenal young man, phenomenal player. Make sure you link up with him because you'll be in good hands. High character kid. I think you guys will get along really quick.
100%. Yeah, definitely send that out because I'm still looking for a roommate. I mean, I don't know anyone, and I want to get that sooner than later.
Yeah. I'll be sure to share that. I'll make sure I get with Coach Kruger on that as well. But yeah, that speaks a lot to the talent that St. Ed's has coming into, considering, unfortunately, as you mentioned, where that program was a couple of years ago. Right. So congratulations on that.
Thank you,
Coach. So now you're officially the hunted, right? No longer the hunter. So obviously you got to find the new motivation. You're losing great players like Hunter and along some of his other senior teammates as well. Now you have that target on your back, right? The expectations have shifted a little bit more. What can we expect from Katy Seven Lakes soccer next year?
Big mission is to build off of what we just did and try to put ourselves in as good of a position to repeat, if you will. And it's not going to be an easy thing. It's near impossible to do, but we feel like we're in good shape. We had 3 senior starters in the state finals, so it's a good, healthy group coming back again with experience. Some kids have experienced 2 state tournaments already, so they're already talking about the potentials for next year, which is a good thing. It means that they're already looking forward and not just relying on what just was done. So from a coaching standpoint, it's going to be twice the work because, as you said, that bullseye is now 5 times bigger than what it's been in the past, if not more. It's just about challenging the guys and challenging them in the fall, making sure that it's a competitive environment from day one, and let every single player understand that last year's team, last year's players, the contributors, doesn't mean anything to this year. And every spot has to be earned, not based off of previous merits, but what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafa?
Yeah, just go. What do you, as far as with 2024, who are going to be maybe your key players that's going to lead this team, and and bring still, because like Hunter's gonna leave that legacy and leadership to them. What players do you see anticipated taking over for you guys?
So we had 3 captains this year. Hunter was one of them. Gabe Gonzalez was another. Aiden Morrison was the junior, played the 6 for us in the state tournament. He's just outstanding young man, and people gravitate towards him. He's just one of those kids that have such an impact on everyone without even trying, just how he is. So he's the biggest one. We have a lot of talent coming back. If you look at the 3 starters from the state finals, it was Hunter who played the 9 for most of the, if not all of that game. Alexi Matute, number 20, who played the 8 for us, and Gabe, who actually is a center mid, but with an injury in the regional tournament, we dropped him to the back line for the regional finals, and he played so well. And I liked the way that team looked in that with those personnel and those roles that we rolled with it in the state semis and even in the state finals. But we have our top. So Hunter Merritt's exiting this program as the all-time scoring leader, goals and assists in mind.
Nice.
He has 3 players right behind him. He has 2 juniors, Noah Stasic and Aiden Morrison, right behind him. And then Cortai, coach, who is a sophomore, who has 42 goals in his 2 years of varsity play. So he had 21 goals his freshman year and 21 goals in his sophomore year, is right there as well. So the talent's there. It's just making sure that the chemistry continues to improve week to week. And everyone wants to do well. Everyone's competitive, but at the same time, it takes that proper balance of chemistry and friendship and family to really set the table for success.
Yeah. So one of the things that you immediately kind of have to get started on, Coach, that it's like, yeah, it's a pressure and you have to figure out what you want to do, what direction you want to go with it. But it's a great problem to have, right? Is that championship ring. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with that. Where are you at in that process?
So I've never been much of a jewelry person. So this is all, everyone's got opinions, more so my wife than anything, on what she thinks it should look like. And I'm all about including my players in decisions. So I have a group chat with my captains, and I send them kind of ideas and pictures and let them have input, because this is their ring, right? I feel like I'm just along for the ride on it, and I want them to have something that they have pride in it. So it's fun. It's interesting. There's a lot of unique things that I didn't think that I would ever be involved with, like setting stones and color patterns and whatever it may be. But it's just another thing to do. Typically, once you get home from the tournament, these vendors know what they're doing. They're hitting you up on email. They already had like rendered rings, like this is what it would look like. I mean, within 1 day of winning, here's what it could look like. And they're just doing their job, right? So I completely understand it. So I can understand how it would be kind of overwhelming, but with all the stuff I do behind the scenes for Tasco, this is really mild. So it's a joy and it's exciting. And we're trying to set our ring ceremony date to where it's going to work with all of our seniors, because of where our season ends. It's like a 14-week turnaround until rings are done. But again, if I have to deal with this,
you say 14 week, 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I have to deal with this every year, that's fine. I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do that.
There are worse problems to have, no doubt.
That's very true.
Yeah. So what, from your perspective, Hunter, what's that like, man? Now you're like, wow, we get to design a ring. What's that like? Because obviously I'm sure you guys are probably at each other's throats trying to figure out, it's like, hey, no, I like this, not this. What's that like?
Yeah, so like he said, he sends the options to our group chat, and then we'll take a look at it, we'll respond, and then we send it to our team group chat on WhatsApp, and then we'll get everyone's opinion, obviously. But I mean, people are going back and forth with the blue 7L or the Spartan head or the gold and white or the orange. So I mean, it's a nice problem to have, like you said. But I mean, for my case, I mean, it's nice to get the ring, and it's like I'm on top of the world right now. But then in a couple months, whenever I go to St. Edwards, like I'm on the bottom of the totem pole again. No one knows that we won state. I mean, none of that stuff matters. So,
yeah, awesome. Well said. Well said. Got a sharp young leader here, Coach and Hunter. So well done. Well done. So we start to wrap up here. So this one of the things we wanted to mention, we want to tell you about our good friends, our partners at Gipper. Gipper's the way schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 2,500 coaches, ADs, and programs that use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. Even better, if you are a more experienced user, you are what they call the power user. It's designed for you as well. The best part is you're also going to save, just for being a 50/50 podcast listener and supporter. You can save immediately and receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. So simply go to gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. All right, Rafa, any final questions before we start making our way over to stoppage time? Anything?
Just a quick one for Hunter. As far as your style of play, who do you mirror your style of play to which professional player?
To be honest, I mean, I don't know of anyone that comes to mind, but I like Brendan Aronson myself, the U.S. national team player. I mean, I think he just works on the field. The goals he scores for Leeds this season in the Premier League, I mean, he scored kind of a similar goal I scored in state where he just won it off the keeper and just tapped it in. So maybe him, but more as an attacking player, I don't know, maybe just like a poacher, because to be honest, most of my goals are just either tap-ins or just someone shoots off the goalie and it's a rebound, but I mean, a goal's a goal and they all count the same. So
have you ever seen any film on one of the most probably modern poachers, like really well-known poachers, is Chicharito out of Mexico, and was he play for LA Galaxy now, right?
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy. I almost said LAFC.
I have seen film, but he's a great player, but I don't know, maybe a little bit.
He's not on your level. That's what you right.
I'm a little bit hurt that he didn't say Coach Kruger was the obvious answer that he tried.
I was waiting for that.
Just missed opportunity, Hunter.
Well, to be honest, it is a little bit, because Aiden, my friend on the team, he always says that both of us don't have that strong of a left foot, but we knew how to score goals, and that's all that matters.
I love it. Awesome. So
reverse side to Coach Kruger. Who do you see yourself as far as your coaching style, as far as one of the professional level?
From coaching?
Yes.
I'm just going to default to Jurgen Klopp right there. That's easy.
Good answer.
Thank you.
There you go. Awesome. So this gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. This is, it's been great. Have loved having you on here. And so before we go, as is customary, we wrap up with, essentially, we call it now our stoppage time. It used to be our final, well, it's really what it is our final thoughts. But, any thank yous, shout outs, Hunter, if you want to share anything with your teammates, anything, stuff that's on your mind regarding the game, anything on that, the floor is yours. We'll go with Hunter first.
Okay. Well, first, I just want to say a big thanks to Coach Kruger. Whenever I came into high school, so I'll just tell my story a little bit. So whenever I came into high school, he told me I was just a little kid that didn't have the fitness to play on the high level. So I started off on the JV2 side, which is the lowest level at our school. And I could barely run an 800 without stopping. It was bad. And then throughout that year, I grew a lot. I scored a lot of goals on JV2. And to start off the next year, I was put with the JV1 side. And then with the first scrimmage of this season, we actually beat our varsity side. That was supposed to be like a very good varsity team then. As soon as that game was over, he came over and talked to me, and he was like, "You're going to be with us this season." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So I got moved up to then. And then fast forwarding it to this season, at the beginning of the season during summer, I went to a lot of ID camps for soccer because I was trying to get recruited. And at the last day of the last training camp I pulled my hamstring, and it was like really bad where I wasn't even able to walk for like the week after. So I went to go get checked, and they said I pulled my hamstring, but it wasn't supposed to be that bad. So it was just like 4 to 5 weeks I was out, and I would be back with my team. So 4 to 5 weeks come, and the first day I get back with the team, all excited, obviously lost in the state semifinal last year, and I knew the talent coming back, and I get on the field. First 5 minutes, I pull my hamstring again, and I'm just on the ground, like almost in tears, like, wow, like there's no way this happened again. So went through the whole process again, got some better physical therapy this time, and obviously now here's the final product.
That's a pretty awesome story. That's
Yes,
a pretty
sir.
awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. So
Yes, sir.
kind of outed your coach in the process. Well, JV knocking off the varsity.
Yeah, that's what's that about? I was going with the good message that, our program is, I really believe in developing players, and we have JV2 players go on to be big time varsity players, whether
Yeah.
it be the next year or the year after or so on. And here's Hunter Merritt, former JV2 player, turned into state tournament MVP. That's pretty cool.
That is a phenomenal story. And that makes for a great story in the future. So Hunter, thank you for sharing that too, because
sir.
that, if anything else, that speaks to the person. There's someone that's listening to this tonight, or that will listen to this in the coming weeks, right? That's going to resonate, that's going to resonate. So, and yeah, so that's a pretty powerful story. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Coach, any final thoughts? Anything you want to share? Stoppage time? Anything? I got one more thing to kick to you afterwards, but I just wanted to see what's on your mind. Anything you want to share?
Just as always, I'm super appreciative of where I'm at, from the administration to the parents to the caliber of player and human being that I get to work with day to day. It's an absolute joy. Old adage is, you find something you love to do, you never work a day in your life. And I can speak wholeheartedly. That's 100% true. Can't see myself really doing anything else besides, doing this. And it's absolutely been a joy. And this is something that I feel like it'll be interesting to see what happens now with that first step, which was to finally achieve what we set out to achieve, is done. Now what? Now what can we do? Right. Can we stay on top? All these different layers that you can get to as a coach. And everyone says it's easy to get to the top. Everyone can do it at some point in time, but it's extremely difficult to stay at the top. And that's something that we're going to try to drive home with our players, is we're going to do this frequently, not just a one-off. So looking forward to that challenge, looking forward to, building what we have done this year, but at the same time, looking forward to a little rest, little R&R.
Yeah, you all have earned it for sure. So they are Coach Jimmy Kruger and Hunter Merritt, the head men's soccer coach of the Katy 7 Lake Spartans and the state MVP of the 6A boys state final. This has been great, gentlemen. We really appreciate you. Really appreciate you all being here. Coach, in your case, obviously, you're this makes you now this is your third time now on the podcast, right? So you're you're starting to get up there, an exclusive 50/50 podcast company there. So
when's my vet badge coming in? What does it look like? I get veteran badge, I should say.
Well, hey, we are there. You go. Rafa's got it right there. So for winning, go ahead, show that up there, Rafa, again. So you guys will get the for being the 6A boys state champion. I'll get with you offline. We're gonna send you guys one of those, so this way you can sport in the office somewhere.
I'm gonna need a scarf full. That's what's gonna happen. That's awesome.
There you go. Awesome. So this has been great. Now, one last thing I got for you, Coach, is I have to mention it since I have you on here, is you also double as the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of Tasco. Any message, anything you can share with coaches that are listening that maybe aren't members or are considering membership regarding Tasco? Just tell us a little bit briefly about that, and then what's coming up later this fall.
So Tasco is an extended educational opportunity where coaches are helping coaches. We do our big fall convention every year, but it also expands beyond that. We get opportunities for kids where it's about to happen in 3 weeks. We're going to have our senior showcase where we'll have 4 regions represented, both boys and girls. There'll be 2 games. I believe it's Region 1 versus 2 and Region 3 versus Region 4 in San Antonio. It's a pretty cool event. We'll have scholarship opportunities for seniors as well that, gives any kind of senior that's going to play or looking for a little financial help and opportunity to put an application in, write a letter, and hopefully get a chance to win a scholarship through Tasco. Also, your players get accolades. All region, all state voting, I believe, just ended, and those should be posted tomorrow or the next day. Our regional directors will be reaching out to coaches across the state to try to build the rosters for the All-Star event, which is 16 field players and 2 keepers. It's a pretty cool event, and players get to rep their region, so there's a bit of pride in that as well. But coming up for the convention itself, it's a 3-day event. Typically, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving holiday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where there's field sessions and classroom sessions from top-tier clinicians. We'll have a pretty big announcement in the next 2 weeks on a clinician that's going to bring some excitement. I can tell you he's from the Arsenal Club overseas, and he'll be flying in to do 2 field sessions and a classroom session. So it's a pretty cool event. So yeah, it's a great organization, and it's, our convention's the second largest soccer convention in North America, second behind obviously United Soccer Coaches Convention. But if you haven't been there, by all means come. It's a good experience.
Yeah, it's a great event. I had the honor, as the privilege of being there last year, being invited, and looking forward to being able to bring the podcast to Podcast Row again this year. So looking forward to that.
It's more like the 50/50 Podcast Row.
Hey,
just brand it yourself.
We're not complaining
there. For sure.
Awesome. So, gentlemen, this has been great. Thank you again. We really appreciate you all being here. And it goes without saying again, just congratulations on a phenomenal 2023 season. They are Katy Seven Lakes, your 2023 UIL 6A Boys State Champions. And for our listeners, thank you again. Our supporters, you can find us on Twitter at 50_50pod, as well as on Twitch. Same handle, 50_50pod. You can also find us on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. And you can also find the audio portion of this podcast on all major podcast platforms or wherever you prefer to listen to your podcast. Just look us up there at the 50/50 podcast. So thank you again for Coach Kruger, Hunter Merritt, and most of all, my co-host and Coach Rafa. Thank you all. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano. And until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening.
You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading